Hi, I'm Mabel. Today I will use a PowerPoint to talk about purposes of closures. First is processual closure. There are 2 points about processual closure, pre-closing and closure markers. The most important about pre-closing are the end of discussion on a particular issue or topic, at the end of the session, at the final termination of the professional relationships. And the closure markers have some signals like handshake, a smile, wave, kiss, hug, etc. The duration and intensity of closure markers is also greater when the period of anticipated separation is longer. Second is cognitive closure. There are 3 points about cognitive closures: summarization, checking out, and connectivity links. About summarizations, also have 3 different parts. At the end of discussion on a particular issue or topic, at the end of session, at the final terminations of professional relationship. Professionals see summarization as a key part of their role. However, actual practice often differs from the ideal. Like university lecturers often say, run of time. Time and effort therefore need to be allowed for summarization. Research has clearly shown concluding summarize increases the listener's comprehension. Checking out is the professional ensure that the client fully understands what has been covered, and they both parties are in agreement about what has been agreed. Like when patients get the medicine, pharmacists always need to re-explain what the doctor has already told them about how to use the medicine. This lack of comprehension was not picked up by the doctor. About connectivity links, for human, the sense of temporal and relational connectivity means that endings of introductions are seen as important. Bridges must be built at this stage to carry the interactors over to their next environment.
Third is motivational closure. There are 3 points about motivational closure: motivational exhortations, thought-provoking aphorisms, and interim tasks.
About motivational exhortation, when individuals have to make decisions, they often doubt about whether the decision is the right one. The more important decision, the greater will be the distance. Distance is overcome in one of 2 ways. Either by convincing oneself that the decision is indeed a good one and embracing it warmly, or abandoning the decision. Thought-provoking is useful to end an introduction with a succinct. Those can be self-produced from the great or the good. Interim task is to affect maximum motivation. The task set should be one that is challenging, but also manageable. Fourth is social closure. There are 2 points about social closure: task rewards and non-task comments. Task rewards are important at 3 stages. At important points within a session, at the end of a session, and at the termination of the relationship. Non-task comments mean business is over. Tasks have been finished, and it is time to acknowledge the client as a person. So, personal uplift talking enter the fray at this point. And we had 5 tips. The expression of gratitude phase, social closing niceties, reference to generic social events, reference to future meetings, and the well-wishing comments. At last, closure serves to leave people both feeling satisfied with an encounter and happy to re-engage, and when required. This is because the termination has to be directly related to the interaction has gone before. Efforts made at this juncture can be very significant import, both on the impact of the encounter and for the future of the relationship itself. This is the end of my part. Now I will pass the mic to my group members.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sylvia, and today I will introduce the closer. Simile-poor is a sign of in a farewell speech. A warm sign of can damage a relationship. Here's an illustration of a goodbye game in which children role play another person to say I'm leaving, to show the consequences of separation. Brown and Martin study found that people with autism were less likely to say hello and leave. For example, ending an undershared interaction, testing affinity. When frustration reaches a certain point, avoiding possible conflict, demonstrating power and status. The lovable behavior used in a chapter ending range without breaking of all eye contact. Stop talking together. To the extreme of turning one's back and walking away. Verbal statements fall into three main types. Rejection remark. The indicate you don't want to conversation to continue. Departure injection. That are a sign of higher status and power. And expression aesthetics. In linguistic science, the conclusion is defined as the last term mutually acceptable language term, just like the speaker's speech, which combines information and features perfectly. The word need to end includes the process of fighting between the two or accepting the rules of a loved one. And different people solve problems differently. Research that your motivation is continued. From a high level of need to ensure that one end is close to a strong desire to avoid the other. It's the notion of holding on the freezing. It's the idea that people with high closure need to make perceptual reinforcement to see that what they want to see. There is strong demand for and are more rigid in thinking. And on the contrary, the lower and are more willing to accept life may involve many exploration and conflicting point of view, are more likely to delay the judgment and delay, including work under. I think there are clear rules and order in the key to success, and I don't know the result of the case into the state. So, when a reason cluster of decision making, no need to be close. This concept has relevance for both interracial set and closure. Those with a high need for closure are more heavily influenced by first impressions as they research for aspects to search open in terms of decision making. They desire clearly structured interaction with transparent goals, and rarely accept the need to bring an encounter to an end in a neat and dirty manner. On the other hand, individuals with a low need for closure are less likely to make judgment based upon enjoy information. They prefer interaction that are loosely structured with less clear-cut goals, and they can be difficult to persuade that it is time to terminate an interaction. As a result, with this type of person, closure can be more prolonged and next, my partner Mabel and Joy will introduce another part. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Joey. Today I'm going to talk about the overview of these essays. There have three parts of overview. First part is the overview of set induction. In this part, the writer used what famous people said is that the beginning is most important part of a work. To do a detailed analysis, when you are in a first few minutes of a conversation or a relationship, what you do and what you say is very important. Then will affect other people's view on you. If you can make the other person feel comfortable during this conversation, then you have success. For example, when we saw somebody, we can take the initiative to greet them or to chat with them about their life or about their hobby. Second part is the overview of closure. Closure serves to leave participants both feeling satisfied with an encounter and happy to re-engage with one another's us and when required. For example, Chinese people often end a conversation by saying, "Let's go to dinner if we have time," instead of just saying, "See you next time" or "goodbye." This kind of speaking skills gives people a good connection at the next time when they need to meet, or at the end of a job. Gives the question to people think about, which will help the whole job go further and make the next discussion more easier. Therefore, in every meeting and conversation, the beginning and parting skills cannot be ignored. Good communication can make others feeling good about you. This concept means when you end a conversation, it is better not to end it completely, but to leave some question or connections. The last part is the overview of this essay. Greeting and parting skills are ubiquitous and it is very important, but we always ignore them in our daily life because we know them when we are young. We think these skills are taken for granted. There are also examples in the text. Due to the primacy and recessive effect, most of what we do at these two junctures remains imprinted upon the mind of those with whom we interact. Time and effort spent at the opening and closing phases should therefore be regarded as a key investment towards the effectiveness of relationships. That's all. Thanks for your listening.